Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Israel steps up attacks on Iran, bombs Iran's state-run media outlet during a live broadcast. Israeli military claims to have killed Iran's top military commander who took charge just days ago. Explosions rocked Tehran and Tel Aviv for the fifth day in a row. US President Trump issues calls to immediately evacuate Iran as he cut short his G7 visit. Trump denies talks of a ceasefire, says he's working on something much bigger and wants a real end to the war, adds Iran should give up entirely. Indian students in Tehran relocated, says the External Affairs Ministry. Government advises all Indian nationals to move out of the city. Some Indians have left Iran through the border with Armenia. A late sell-off on Dalal Street as geopolitical tensions sink the market. Sensex and Nifty end at the low point of the day. Pharma stocks plunge after President Trump says tariffs are coming soon. Crude oil prices gain with Brent nearing the $75 mark. CNBC-TV18 News Break confirmed. NSE says SEBI has approved its request for weekly futures and options contracts to expire on Tuesday. BSE's proposal for Thursday expiry has also been cleared. 5 days after the Air India plane crash, many grieving families still wait for the bodies of their loved ones as DNA matching continues. 162 bodies have been identified so far. Air India says 20 out of 33 Dreamliners on its fleet have cleared the check mandated by the regulator. Prime Minister Modi all set to hold bilateral talks with Canada's Mark Carney at the sidelines of the G7 summit. The meeting comes after a period of strained relations triggered by Canada alleging India's involvement in the killing of a Sikh separatist in 2023. India has strongly rejected the charges. Union Steel Secretary says government is plugging loopholes in import licenses to curb their misuse. Expect steel imports to decline sharply this financial year. Cab aggregators seek clarity on GST. Sources say industry wants same treatment for those working on commission model on apps like Ola and Uber with those working on SaaS model on apps like Rapido. And CNBC-TV18 goes inside Cognizant's new artificial intelligence lab in San Francisco. The lab is being run by the inventor behind Apple's voice assistant Siri. Exclusive conversation coming up. Israel has stepped up its attacks on Iran as both long-standing enemies trade fire for the fifth straight day. A state-run media outlet was bombed in Tehran during a live broadcast. The news anchor had to flee the studio midway through the broadcast. The entire building was on fire after the attack. Multiple blasts rocked Tehran as Tel Aviv claimed to have air superiority over Iran. The Israeli military claimed to have killed Ali Shadmani, Iran's top military commander who took charge just days ago after his predecessor was killed in Israeli strikes. As per reports, the international nuclear watchdog has said it believes that Iran's Natanz facility suffered damages due to Israel's attacks. Iran launched a new wave of missile attacks. Tel Aviv said that most of them were intercepted, but some made an impact. Iranian media claim that preparations were underway for what they called the largest and most intense missile attack on Israeli soil. Meanwhile, panic-stricken citizens have started fleeing the Iranian capital hours after Donald Trump issued an evacuate Tehran call. Long queues of vehicles were seen moving westward from Tehran. US President Donald Trump cut short his G7 summit visit. Speaking with reporters on board the Air Force One, Trump said that he was working on something better than a ceasefire and wanted a real end to the war, adding that Iran should give up entirely.
You just posted right before we took off that you're not leaving because of a ceasefire. Why are you? Can you elaborate?
Looking at better than ceasefire. We're not looking for a ceasefire. I didn't say I was looking for a ceasefire. That was Emmanuel, nice guy, but he doesn't get it right too often. But we're looking for better than a ceasefire.
What specifically is better than a ceasefire? What are you looking for here?
An end, a real end, not a ceasefire. An end.
Is there something that would be permanent?
Yeah, or giving up entirely. Is that okay too?
And the latest, as far as the crisis is concerned, the External Affairs Ministry has said that the Indian students stuck in Tehran have been relocated. The union government has advised all Indian nationals to move out of the city. Now, some Indians have also left Iran through the border with Armenia. Parikshit Luthra is here with more. Parikshit, please tell us more about the government's evacuation plan.
The war between Israel and Iran has led to concerns about the safety of Indians in Israel and Iran as well. Now, there are about 4,000 Indian nationals in Iran itself, and this includes about 1,500 to 2,000 students. The Indian embassy has said that Indian students in Tehran have been moved out of the city for safety reasons. The embassy has made arrangements for their evacuation. Other Indian students have also been advised to move out of Tehran at the earliest if they are making their own arrangements for transportation. Representatives of the Indian High Commission have facilitated the evacuation of some Indians through the border with Armenia. The embassy is keeping in constant touch with the Indian community to help them in the current volatile and fluid situation. A 24/7 control room has also been established in the MEA to answer concerns of all families who have their loved ones in Israel or Iran. The Indian embassy has also set up an emergency hotline for Indian nationals and students in Tehran and other places in the country. Many of the Indian students in Iran are from Jammu and Kashmir, studying in medical universities, professional courses all across Iran. Indian students study in universities in Tehran, Shiraz and Qom areas as well. External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar spoke to his Iranian counterpart recently and expressed concern about the escalation. The safety of Indian students and Indians also cropped up during the discussions. Remember, the airspace in Iran and Israel is closed right now. All Indians in Iran are being evacuated by road, and it's an arduous journey. Armenia is about 800 kilometers away, and Turkmenistan, the other place where Indians are being taken, is about 1,000 kilometers by road from Tehran.
For now, the students who were in war zone areas like it was Tehran, Urmia, Shiraz, they have been relocated to safer places. And regarding Urmia, I just heard they have been taken to Armenia through the Armenia border because it was the nearest border to them. For students of universities which are located in Tehran, they have been taken to Qom. It's a religious place in northern Iran. They have been taken there for now. Maybe after 1 or 2 days, their relocation route or their evacuation route will be planned. For us students in Kirman, we have been said to pack our luggage and we may be relocated by tonight.
And staying with tensions in West Asia, Israeli forces have killed at least 56 Palestinians in Gaza since dawn. This includes 38 people who were seeking aid at distribution points in Rafah and Khan Yunis. Over 300 people have been killed and more than 2,000 have been injured so far since the humanitarian aid sites began its operations in the enclave. Now, Ukraine has said that at least 15 people have been killed in Russian strikes on Kyiv. Russia struck 27 locations around the city with missiles and drones. Ukraine's President Zelensky said Russia launched more than 440 drones and 32 missiles. Meanwhile, Russia said that it intercepted and destroyed 147 Ukrainian drones targeted at many cities, including Moscow. Now, crude oil prices rose as tensions between Iran and Israel intensified, and US President Donald Trump warned Tehran residents to evacuate. Remember, Iran is the third largest producer among OPEC countries, and hostilities could disrupt its supply of oil, thereby increasing prices. Gold prices also surged amid heightened global uncertainty as its safe haven appeal rose. And CNBC-TV18 Newsbreak confirmed NSE has said that SEBI has approved its request for weekly futures and options contracts to expire on Tuesday. BSE's proposal for Thursday expiry has also been cleared. We also spoke with Sriram Krishnan, NSE's Chief Business Development Officer. He confirmed the news to us.
And so if you flip it around and say that the NSE expiry is going to be on Tuesday henceforth, which is confirmed now. And if that's the case, then obviously this is a huge positive for NSE. And I think that's what the market ecosystem wanted to see, and we've received feedback in the past.
All right, on to the day's market action. The markets closed at day's low with Nifty ending the day below the 24,900 mark. Mid-cap index underperformed while sensex fell more than 200 points. Pharma stocks took a beating as well, with stocks falling for 3 of the last 4 sessions. Now, this fall comes after US President Donald Trump announced that tariffs on the pharmaceutical sectors are coming soon. He also added that the European Union is not offering a fair deal yet.
We're going to be doing pharmaceuticals very soon. It's going to bring all the companies back into America.
All of them are focusing on.
It's going to bring most of them back in, at least partially back in.
Do you tell us what the status is? All talks on those you side?
Well, you like it very. I don't feel that they're offering a fair deal yet. It's been very tough over the years. So if you look at European, they formed in order to hurt the United States on Friday. And we're either going to make a good deal or they'll just pay whatever we say then.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Canada to attend the G7 summit. The meeting comes after a period of strained relations triggered by Canada alleging India's involvement in the killing of a Sikh separatist in 2023. India has strongly rejected the charges. Prime Minister Modi is expected to meet Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney on the sidelines of the summit with an aim to reset ties. Sanjay Suri joins us now from Canada. Sanjay, please take us through what the two leaders are likely to discuss.
It's the day really of the critical bilateral meeting between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. This really for India is the point of the G7. Of course, the Indian Prime Minister will be addressing the G7 on India's experiences and concerns and convey to the others the challenges India has faced and will continue to, and how India proposes to do it, look for support as well. But really, it's with Carney that is the moment for the reset in relations that have been troubled now for most of 2 years now. There have been diplomatic relations that have fallen apart. The relations between the two countries really have soured greatly after the Niger murder and allegations made by the Canadian government of Indian involvement. So two issues stand out at this meeting. First, the hurdle that needs to be cleared, the legal issues. Canada has made a number of allegations, not quite offered evidence to back those. Indian government has denied those allegations. That is a situation, and that is an impasse that the two leaders will confront. At the same time, Indian Prime Minister Modi will express India's concerns about encouragement or tacit encouragement at least to extremist activity within Canada, that India believes that the government in Canada does not do enough to counter and to calm down. Of course, the final issue will be on trade relations between India and Canada, economic ties that can be strengthened now. Canada is squeezed in its economic and trade relations with the US, is looking for new markets, new opportunities. India is the big opportunity, and that awaits Canada. It awaits India also. The prospect of increased trade and economic ties and cross-investment between the two countries. But that legal hurdle will have to be tackled first and cleared first.
Right, coming up on India Business Hour, CNBC-TV18 goes inside Cognizant's new artificial intelligence lab in San Francisco. The lab is being run by the inventor behind Apple's voice assistant Siri. Exclusive conversation in just a bit. And you can also catch all CNBC-TV18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Jio Hotstar. Well, 90 crore shares of retailer Vishal Megamart worth 11,000 crore rupees exchanged hands today in a block deal. Promoter Samayat Services offloaded 20% of equity in the transaction. The deal took place at an average price of 114 rupees a share. That is 10.4% lower than the stock's closing price. The promoter held about 75% in the firm as of 31st of March. Shares of pharma giant Biocon inched higher in trade today. This after the company sold 11.6% stake through a qualified institutional placement. The company is looking to raise 4,500 crore rupees through this transaction. The firm set a floor price of 340.20 rupees a share. Hindustan Zinc's promoter Vedanta is planning to sell a portion of its stake in the company through block deals. Sources tell CNBC Awaaz that Vedanta plans to offload shares worth up to 7,500 crore rupees. The share sale is expected to be offered at a discount of up to 10% to the stock's closing price today. Shares of Zee Entertainment rallied in today's trade. This after the board approved a plan of promoters to hike their stake. The company will issue 16.95 crore fully convertible warrants for a total cash consideration of over 2,200 crore rupees. The warrants will be allotted to two promoter group entities, Altalice Technologies Private and Sunbright Mauritius Investments. Well, the move will take promoter stake to 18.4% from 4.3% earlier. Realty major DLF will invest around 5,500 crore rupees to develop a luxury housing project in Gurugram. The company will soon launch an 18-acre project called DLF Privana North. This upcoming project will have more than 1,150 apartments and is part of the realty firm's 116-acre township. DLF Privana. Steel Secretary Sandeep Pundarik has said that government is plugging loopholes in import licenses to curb their misuse. Speaking with CNBC-TV18, he added that he expects steel imports to decline sharply this financial year. He also added that government entity Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited has become cash positive in the last 4 months, and he expects the company to generate sufficient surplus in the next 3 months to pay its dues.
There are like 2-3 kind of imports, as I said earlier. One is where the particular steel is not available inter-country, some specialty steels grades. So that's all right because those are not available. Second is based on lower price or dumping. That what the government has tried to discourage by imposing safeguard duty. I think that we have controlled to a large extent now. Based on the 2 months data of April and May, the total steel imports are much lower as compared to what they were in the last year. And if this trajectory continues, I think the steel imports will be about 50% lower than last year.
Well, 5 days after the Air India plane crash, many grieving families still wait for the bodies of their loved ones as DNA matching continues. 144 bodies have been identified so far. Meanwhile, aviation regulator DGCA has asked Air India for training data of pilots and the dispatcher of crashed plane. The airline has also been asked for crew documents. Furthermore, the regulator has told flying schools and airports to step up training checks. The last rites of Captain Sumit Sabharwal, the pilot in command of the ill-fated Air India flight AI-171, were performed today in Mumbai. Sabharwal's grief-stricken 88-year-old father bid a tearful goodbye to his son. His father, Pushkar Sabharwal, placed flowers at the casket, stood in silence and then chanted prayers with other family members and friends. Air India has said that aviation regulator DGCA has cleared 20 of the 33 Dreamliners in its fleet. The checks were mandated by the government after the crash in Ahmedabad. 6 Air India international flights operating with Boeing 787-8 Dreamliners were cancelled today. The airline attributed the cancellations to delays caused by the mandated checks and airspace closures. Moving on, cab aggregators seek clarity on GST sources, saying industry wants same treatment for those working on commission model on apps like Ola and Uber with those working on SaaS model on apps like Rapido. Now, Timsy Jaipuria gets us more.
Well, that's right. What sources are telling us is the fact that the government is evaluating proposal to clarify ambiguities in applicability of GST for cab aggregators. Industry has sought similar GST treatment for cab aggregators working on commission as on those which is being levied for the cab aggregators that are working on SaaS model. Just to remind our viewers, cab aggregators working on commission model are taxed at 12% GST with ITC of 5% without ITC per ride. Cab aggregators working on SaaS model are taxed at 18% GST on the one-time or the monthly or the daily fees that they charge to the drivers. So now what the issue over here is, what sources indicate that industry has written to Finance Ministry and they say that there is a need for parity of GST for cab aggregators, as model may be different, but final service is the same. Commission-based cab aggregators are losing market to SaaS-based model apps. The cab aggregators on SaaS model charge drivers 18% GST only once a day or a month, which makes rides much cheaper. Varying applicable GST rates leads to same service being cheaper, costlier basis who is providing the service. Just to remind our viewers here again, Ola, Uber use commission-based model and charge 12% or 5% GST depending on the ITC treatment, whereas apps like Rapido, Namayatri work on SaaS model. They don't charge passengers GST at all. They only charge GST to the cab drivers for the daily or the monthly fees, which is very small quantum, and thus the 18%, which might sound larger, actually comes out to be a very minimalistic pay. So cab aggregators on SaaS model collect 18% GST from drivers only, and that is what is giving a tough time to cab aggregators who are working on the commission or per ride based model. Let's see what happens finally. Does Finance Ministry step into it and come up with clarity or not? Something that we'll have to wait and watch for.
Right. Thank you, Timsy, for that. And speaking of cab aggregators, Ola Cabs has rolled out a 0% commission model. Now, this will enable drivers to retain 100% of their fare earnings, and this will be applicable across all categories, including autos, bikes and cars, with no rider or income limit. Drivers will also have the option to choose their own plans and keep the full fare amount without any deductions. The leakage of gas continues for the 5th day after a blowout at an ONGC oil well in Assam's Shivsagar district. Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri reviewed the situation and said relief efforts are underway. While officials are working to control the fire, the blowout has affected around 1,500 locals and about 70 families have been moved to a relief camp in Bangao. Assam Chief Minister Himant Biswa Sarma also visited the site and assured people that government teams will stay on ground for help. The Supreme Court has ordered that actor Kamal Hassan's film Thug Life must be released in Karnataka. The top court ruled that any film cleared by the Central Board of Film Certification has every right to be released. The apex court also slammed the Karnataka High Court for seeking an apology from Kamal Hassan for his remarks about Kannada. Remember, the movie's release was halted in the state after the actor said that Kannada was born out of Tamil. On to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. CNBC-TV18 goes inside Cognizant's new artificial intelligence lab in San Francisco. The lab is being run by the inventor behind Apple's voice assistant Siri. Speaking with CNBC-TV18, the Cognizant leadership also said that configuring and specializing in agentic AI is the new expertise.
Our clients know where they want to apply AI and how they want to apply AI. And actually, as Cognizant, we often know better than our clients where the AI can be applied and how. And so I think that aspect of specializing and configuring these AI agents is something that is the new sort of expertise that comes in. The AI is very powerful. You don't have to, unlike the Siri days, you don't have to go code it to understand natural language. Out of the box, it knows that. And it can actually talk to other agents in natural language in a future-proof manner. Where it needs help from us as humans is to give it that expertise, to package that and say, here's what you need to do and how you need to do it. I think that's very important.
I think there was a recent research by PwC, I guess, where 88% of the senior executives polled said that they're going to increase their budgets towards AI-centric solutions. So I think, we clearly see that there is a spending pivot in that direction.
I think one of the questions that's also being asked is how much is too much, and how do you put the guardrails in place that you continue to control?
You don't want to leave this to happen organically. You want to think very specifically about where you draw that line, where you can allow an agent to be autonomous and where not. And you also need to have the safeguards to say, if this thing, if something goes wrong, right, what is the fallback? Yeah. Right? What is the disengage button? Yeah. Right? So, how do we fall onto, let's say, a rule-based operation that we can afford to have while we figure out what's going on? Those sorts of things is know-how that we've attained through the hard way, and we're using. Last thing I'm going to say is that the good news about an agent is an agent isn't just a black box neural network. It's not just that crazy complex AI. It's also code. Every agent has two things, an AI system and code. So the platform that we have makes it very explicit where you're relying on the black box AI, for example, understanding natural language or doing some reasoning, and so forth, and where you go to code.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. News continues right here on CNBC-TV18.